You know that feeling when you've been holding your breath for so long that you don't even remember when you started, and then one day you realize you can finally exhale? Not because something dramatic happened, not because your life suddenly changed. Everything around you looks the same. The same environment, the same routines, the same responsibilities. And yet, something beneath the surface has quietly shifted. The constant background noise in your mind softens. The internal urgency that's been driving you begins to loosen its grip. And for the first time in a long while, you're not bracing yourself for what comes next. If you're here, it's because you're experiencing something subtle but significant. Something most people move through without ever noticing. Something inside you is settling. Not collapsing, not shutting down, settling. There's no breakthrough moment, no announcement. Just a strange sense of calm, where tension used to live. You might not even fully understand it yet. You just know that the way you've been pushing, forcing, and trying to keep everything moving no longer feels necessary in the same way. And that realization alone marks the beginning of a very different chapter. For a long time, you've been carrying a restless energy that never truly left you. A subtle tension that followed you through your days, no matter how much progress you made or how many things you checked off your list. It felt like you were always slightly behind yourself, chasing a version of life that seemed just out of reach. You would wake up with intentions, plans, promises to yourself that today would be different. And yet, by midday, something inside you already felt depleted. Not because you had done too much, but because you were constantly trying to make everything line up through effort alone. You kept adjusting your approach, reorganizing your priorities, tweaking your mindset, searching for the right framework, the right routine, the right way to think that would finally make everything click into place. You believed that if you could just become more disciplined, more aware, more intentional, the friction would disappear. And when it didn't, you assumed the fault was yours. You internalized the struggle. You told yourself you weren't trying hard enough, weren't focused enough, weren't doing enough. But beneath all of that effort, something quieter was happening. A deeper exhaustion was setting in. Not the kind that sleep fixes, but the kind that comes from constantly managing yourself. From treating your own life like a project that was never finished. You weren't lacking motivation. You weren't broken. You were simply worn down from trying to force alignment instead of allowing it to emerge. This is where most people misunderstand what this phase actually means. From the outside, it can look like a loss of drive, a softening of ambition, a step backward. Even you might have questioned whether you were losing your edge or settling for less. But that interpretation misses what's really happening beneath the surface. This isn't resignation. It isn't stagnation. It isn't you giving up on your potential. What's actually unfolding is a withdrawal from a mode of living that was built almost entirely around control, around forcing outcomes, around constantly trying to stay ahead of uncertainty. For a long time, that mode served you. It kept you functional. It kept you moving. It helped you survive periods where effort was necessary. But survival strategies aren't meant to run your entire life. There's a natural process that begins when you stop interfering with every internal movement. It's slow, subtle, and almost invisible, like a jar of muddy water left undisturbed. You can shake it, stir it, and try to speed it up. But clarity only comes when you stop trying to manage it. Right now, that's what's happening inside you. The confusion, the second guessing, the sense of misalignment, it's all settling into its natural place. Not because you finally figured everything out, but because you stopped fighting what was already reorganizing itself. If you look closely at your recent experience, the signs are already there. Things that once triggered immediate stress or emotional reactions don't carry the same intensity anymore. Situations that used to send you into spirals of overthinking now feel surprisingly manageable. Decisions that once felt overwhelming no longer demand hours of mental debate. They come with a quiet sense of knowing. This isn't indifference, and it isn't emotional numbness. It's clarity replacing chaos. You're no longer operating from a constant state of internal noise. You're beginning to experience what it feels like to move through life from a more stable center, one that isn't fueled by urgency or fear, but by discernment. This settling doesn't mean everything suddenly becomes easy or predictable. It means you stop adding unnecessary resistance to what's already happening. You begin to recognize which pressures genuinely belong to you, and which ones you've been carrying simply because you always have. Expectations lose their grip. Old narratives lose their authority. It's like realizing you've been following a map toward a destination you never consciously chose. And for the first time, you pause long enough to ask whether that destination actually makes sense for you. As this internal shift continues, it starts to show up in your daily choices. Not dramatically, but consistently. You say no more often, without rehearsing explanations or feeling the need to justify yourself. You disengage from conversations that drain you, not out of avoidance, but out of self-respect. You choose solitude when you need it, not because you're withdrawing from life, but because you finally understand what restores you. The people around you may notice something different, even if they can't articulate what it is. You're less reactive, less pulled into unnecessary tension, less willing to carry emotions and responsibilities that were never yours. And for some people, that change is uncomfortable. Your calm reflects their urgency. Your boundaries expose the absence of their own. But you're no longer seeking approval for these shifts. You're making choices from alignment rather than obligation. Your motivations feel quieter now, but far more stable. You're not chasing the next milestone to prove something. You're actually inhabiting your life as it unfolds, instead of constantly waiting for it to begin. The most unexpected part of this entire process is that you're not becoming someone new. You're not reinventing yourself or constructing a different identity from scratch. You're returning to someone familiar, someone who existed before the constant effort, before the pressure to perform, before the need to keep up with timelines that were never truly yours. This version of you was always there, but it became buried under responsibility, urgency, and the belief that you had to constantly prove your worth through movement. What's happening now isn't an ending, it's a grounding, a quiet stabilization taking place beneath the surface, a foundation forming so that whatever unfolds next can be built from steadiness instead of desperation, from clarity instead of reaction, from presence instead of fear. You're no longer trying to outrun uncertainty. You're learning how to stand within it without losing yourself. You're beginning to trust your own rhythm, your own timing, your own internal compass. And that trust doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from recognizing how your body responds when something is aligned, and how it tightens when something isn't. That awareness is becoming your guide. And when doubt inevitably returns, when old restlessness tries to convince you that you're not doing enough, not moving fast enough, not maximizing your potential, remember this. This piece isn't fragile. It isn't something you have to defend, protect, or maintain through force. It doesn't disappear because you slow down or choose differently. It deepens when you continue to honor what feels true, grounded and real for you. If this message resonated, if it felt like someone finally gave language to something you've been sensing but couldn't explain, leave the words settled in the comments. Not as proof to anyone else, but as a quiet declaration to yourself that you're no longer rushing the process, that you trust what's unfolding, and that you're ready to keep moving forward as the person you're already becoming.